This is Find Your Magic, where we interview people who have found their gifts and the courage to live into them. I'm Tracy Feldstein, body and wellness engineer and owner of Hello Mellow Natural Skincare.
And I'm Jaime Gennaro, consultant and business coach. And each week we talk to entrepreneurs, artists, healers, musicians, and we find out what scares them the most and how they jumped anyway.
If you like what you see and hear, please hit like and subscribe and share us with your friends.
And in the comments, tell us what you're afraid of so that we can help. And then we'll help you even more when you come to the summit in person, January 7th through 9th in Ojai, California. The link to the information's all below.
See you soon.
Okay, so welcome to this week's Find Your Magic. Today, Tracy's in the hot seat, and I wrote in my Instagram description last week that we thought this would be fun to talk about our journeys and how we got to this place and why we feel like we found our magic. So it's Tracy's turn to talk about that journey. So Tracy, why don't you tell our viewer, Justin, our editor, why don't you tell him all about yourself, how you describe your work, what you do?
Hi. What do I do? It's, wordy. I'm a body engineer and a wellness engineer is what I call myself. I've done body work and healing modalities on the body for almost 30 years. And as I have developed skills and what feels right to me on working with people, it's sort of become this bigger thing that is about your relationship with your body and your feelings and creating a relationship with yourself physically and emotionally, spiritually, all of it, because that's how you heal. In my belief is that it's all intertwined. And so you need to not only just feel the pain, but also listen to the pain and, or what's good, or all of it. And the more you can have a good relationship with what's going on with you, the more you can use that to move around your world and choose what you want in your world. So that's kind of what I do. So I coach, and it's like a different version of coaching. Sometimes there's body work, sometimes it's just going through your own body, and we do breath work and whatever is needed to unwind the body and get to the next layer of health.
Okay, so I'm curious, like in the beginning of this journey, because you talk about body work, and what I know about you is that you've been doing that work for a long time. So I'm curious about that first jump into doing body work full time. Like, how did you know that that was your calling at the time?
Yeah, it was truly just a calling, just like that. I mean, I had been in the fashion industry. I finally burnt out there and went on a self-healing journey. And just from taking care of myself, I started working with people in their bodies kind of in an exercise way. And I was like, ooh, I'm not actually helping people in the way I wanted to. And so I had taken in a bunch of body work for myself and my healing. So I decided to take a couple classes and see. And I was like, this is on the way to what I want to do. And then realized I just needed to dig in much deeper to find what I wanted to do. And so I went on this big old quest and moved away and went to an amazing school up in Seattle, Washington for a couple of years, and just kind of dove in, and then just did class after class and traveled the world and, just kept learning and learning. And then just, years and years of working and working on myself and my self-growth, and just having so many clients to practice on and develop my skills with and listen. I just sort of came up with something that felt like it was true to me, which is that leap, right? Is that moment. I always share this moment where I was like reading an Ida Rolf book, and, it's Rolfing. And, I always knew it was a Rolfing and all these names to all these different bodywork and stuff. And I opened the book and it was just like the forward about like this woman named Ralph who had done this thing with a bunch of people and herself and healed a bunch of people and helped people. And she created this thing called Rolfing. And I just kind of was dumbfounded at that moment and was like, oh, so as a woman that practiced something and this is the way she sees it. And this is the way she helped people. And I was like, huh, okay. And that changed my life forever because I was like, I can just share what I think is helping or what I see and what I've learned. And it could be, whatever I want. It could be Tracy Feldstein. It could be body engineering. And I think that's why I always called myself a body engineer because it raised questions for people. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, great. We're at the right place.
Let's go there.
Yeah, let's go there because I'm not going to give you a massage. You're in the wrong place and you're going to be disappointed because that's not what I'm doing. I'm looking for people that want to do this kind of work and work on themselves in a different way. And this is what I have to offer. If you want a massage, there's a billion people that do that. Go for it.
So do your clients know when they start working with you that it's something different? Like, do you sort of introduce them to your methods and style when they approach you?
I think over the years, it's sort of developed. It's more developed in that way now because I have such a vast toolbox of what I can do for someone. So it's sort of like we need to have a moment to check in with each other and see what's going on and see what you need from me or how I can help or, what my offerings are and that they're sort of just going to appear as needed. So you may get on the table, but you may never get on the table and be ready for whatever, because I'm just listening to you and your body and where it is and what it's available to heal in the moment. And I'm just going to be there to help facilitate that. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, and I think mostly my work has all been word of mouth. And so although they might not understand what they're coming in for, they're always like, so someone told me I had to come here. Right. And it's like, and have this experience. So either they want more information about it or they're just all in for the experience because someone told them, go do it.
That's amazing. Because if you think about your journey from jumping into this work, because you were burned out from other work and at that starting point, and then it sounds like, and what I know about you now is that you get in at one level and then you layer and you layer and you layer because ultimately you're a healer and you're trying to find the best way to help heal people and add more tools to your toolbox. So it's cool now that you've developed something to a level that people just trust, right? That people are like, somebody told me this is what I need to do. So you had to trust yourself in like bringing your new tools to the table, and they trust you conversely because they know you're experienced. They've heard about you. They don't even know what they're getting into, but they know it's you and they need what you have, which is unique, which is an amazing place to be.
Yeah, it's a journey though.
Yeah.
Right. Because even as you say it, I think of all of the bumps and all of the places where I dragged my feet, not trusting that I should show up with all my gifts and I should just give someone some body work because that's what they asked for, and stifling my magic and stifling my gift and to do what I believe they needed from me or what they wanted from me. And after years of doing that, I just couldn't do it anymore. Because I was really miserable, stifling my gift. And I was also watching how it wasn't helping people in the fullest. And so I would have a sense of, you're going down a bad path. This is not good. You're not going to be well. And instead of like demanding it and showing up with, hey, let's do this. Shit, that happened. And now I need to stand up full and show up and help. But it was that much harder. And there was those like trusting moments of like, okay, how many times do you need to do that to just believe in yourself and take the jump. And if someone doesn't want to go and that's their path, that's their path. But I had to trust myself in saying like, okay, I have to be willing to give up this client if they're not gonna go down the path that I know in my heart has to be shared from me. And cut the cords to the expectation of them going, yeah, that's a great idea. You know, some of them are like, you're ridiculous. I just want a massage. And that became like the place where I was working for money and not for magic, not for getting refueled. And for me, that became draining and a hard place to live from and a hard place to heal people from and show up.
Yeah, that's
so
the
there
key.
was that moment of like really needing support, which I got from you and I got, you know, from people and also from myself, like, okay, here it is. Here's the moment. Like, you know your truth, you know, you can see all these things. Do you have the guts? What does it take to believe in your Ida Rolfness? Right? Like,
right.
She was just lady, you know, I have to constantly tell myself that, like, she's just a lady that saw some stuff and wanted to share it, you know, and it's like, so are you. Yeah. So it's still a journey.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, and so that's something I want to talk about more also. So first I want to say, like, do you ever take the moment to revel in this version of your future self? Because when you are on a journey and you think about that moment where you jumped into this, you moved to Seattle, you start on this path, and then you think about like what you're hoping you're going to get from this, right? Like what it looks like to be in the position you're in now, which, like, from my point of view, is you have a very successful business. You have successful return clients who only want what you have to offer. They don't want to go to anyone else because you have the magic and they want the magic. So, and you have, you know, again, like what looks from the outside, and of course you can pick it apart, but from the outside, you look very successful, very grounded, very centered in your magic. But you're also the kind of person who wants to continue to layer and wants to continue to push and wants to continue to grow and put more tools in your toolbox. Do you ever find time or take the moment to say like, oh, right, this is the version of my future self that I imagined when I was in Seattle?
I think I'm way past the version of that. There was a version that I believed in at that point. And, you know, what an awesome thing to hear right now, even just from you. It's like, okay, that was so clear when I left Seattle that happened very quickly. Like I know one of the last things in one of the last classes was like a business class, like to help us, like, you know, what was the 5-year plan and what was the 3-year plan? And, you know, and I wrote this like big plan, you know, and even my teachers were like, like, you know, and I was like, like, you know, and they were like, good luck with that, you know, and 2 years later, I was like, well, my 5-year plan's over. So now what? But I didn't have the support or even the knowingness in myself, like, oh, you can do that again. You can rethink it. Cause I was like, I got stuck right there. And it was like a ceiling for, well, this is as big as it gets. And the only way to up this game is to raise your price. Right. Like, and I couldn't dream into it more. And so the magic for me was starting to work on myself, right, and to grow. And even in the pandemic, we're like, okay, we're going to take it all away from you. What now? What? And I was like, oh, this is a blessing. Like, what do I want? If you take that all away from me, what do I have to give? And I was like, I have a ton to give that I want to give. And I want to give it in a different way. Thank you for this, because I got to figure out how to do it. And that's how we met, right? So I signed up for a class in a school that I was like, okay, I just need a little support around another version of this. And whether it was what they were teaching or what I was getting within myself from that, just kind of open. It was like, well, I'm already really doing this. This is really interesting. And there's a lot of great information, but also what it's really showing me is I can keep dreaming.
Oh, I love that.
And that's almost 30 years later. So, it's like, it was a journey. And I think there's a huge part of that time that I needed to work hard and grow and learn. And a lot of that was really needed. I think maybe it lasted too long that I didn't realize I could jump. And honestly, those are those moments where I think it was like, oh, I want to share that. I don't want other people to have to do this. Like, I want, and it's so fun. And I think we love that, right? With each other. It's like, oh, here's the moment. Like, no, you don't have to stay there for another 15 years. What does it look like to change your mind today? What does it look like? What do you want? And so even you saying to me, what does your future self look like? It's like, oh, I don't know. Right. And I think I keep why I haven't fully jumped into my next future self is I haven't sat long enough. What exactly does she want? Where is she? I'm trying on some outfits right now. So I would say, and there's so much I want to do. And even, I have a natural body care business that I've had for 16 years. And I'm redreaming into that in new ways because of the people I'm working with and coaching with and all the work I'm doing on myself. It's like, oh yeah, I can redream that too. What do I want to redream that for me to give out? And it makes it really fun.
Yeah. So of all these outfits, what's the one that you've put on and you've been like, oh, I didn't think this one was going to fit or look this good on me? Like, is there one that you're like, oh, I'm kind of excited about this possibility?
I'm excited about all the possibilities, but I think the new outfit that I didn't realize is my skin, right? Is like, even the moment you were like, so this is how you think, and you're an eagle, right? Like and I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And, and it took me a while to process in my brain. And this is, going on a year and a half or something, right? Like, where that's still infusing my belief system and making me look at my belief system of myself and my limitations and where can I stretch myself. And so the one that I'm really, putting on every day and reminding myself to put on is like, where my magic is in this bigger picture, and being creative and sharing and like giving information, giving support, giving, anything freely of myself that helps other people kind of take pause and get inspired in any way that I can. And also leaning into not having to do more than that. So the dare for me is not going in the weeds, not trying to get the stuff done. And you really helped me pull that apart, where it's like, that's not your job. There's someone else that's their magic, and yours is over here and theirs is over here. Don't do their magic because that's theirs. Right. And so the dare has been like, how do I create a team and trust that's mine, and we all, and together are making this cool machine, and we're all living in our magic and doing it together and creating something bigger. And that's happening right now. And that's new for me. I definitely feel like my old story was this limiting, these are all your ideas. You should keep them. You own them. And I'm like, yeah, they're all just sitting inside of me, corroding me without that team. And those are old beliefs, right? And they were handed to me that I trusted, because I don't have that business mind. I have this creative mind, I guess, and a healer mind, right? And that's like my purpose. And so I sort of need someone else to, when I join forces with, I call her the boss of me. I'm like, I need you to just say, like, go here, talk. That I got, like, or give me a topic and I can do it. We don't need to talk about that, but like, just keep me going. And just trusting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's been cool to watch your journey just over this last year and a half, because I'll just tell our viewer, I just think that's so funny. I just want to tell people, like, physically where you started too. So You were, see, yo, boss, getting the phone calls.
Sorry.
But even like you were working, so, well, if we go way back, and you can fill in the gaps because I don't know all the details, but you had a space in a different part of town. During COVID, you kind of moved back into your house. You had kind of a home space that you were working from. And then in the last, you have to fill in the blanks, but like 3 months or so, you started dreaming up this idea of like building out your own studio space, which is where you are now, which is freaking amazing. But I think like, even just if you only follow that journey, it perfectly lines up with you bossing up. And which I totally think is like the appropriate way to talk about what's happened to you, because you're like, okay, I started on this journey for 30 years. I could define myself by this thing. And the way I saw you was like, you own a business over here. You have like a skincare product business. You also do this body work, but you're also like this amazing healer, holistic healer, like sort of the owner of a lifestyle brand, and bringing all these like holistic modalities together. And when I saw you, I was like, you're so confident. You're so just charismatic also. And like my first instinct about you was like, you are a CEO, like you're not a massage therapist. You're not a freelancer. You're not doing these like side gigs. You have like successful businesses, but it was like you hadn't sat in the CEO chair yet. You were keeping the plate spinning, and you were doing the things you needed to do, but you hadn't like gotten to the CEO like throne. And what I like coach people on a lot is like, when you sit in that chair of CEO, it's interesting because you just said it. You're like, I don't have a business mind. I'm a creative person. I'm a healer, but you do. Because when you sit in that chair as a visionary and as an eagle, that is the business.
Yes.
That is the business mind. Your brain is the business mind. You just have other people turning the knobs and turning the dials and turning it up. But your brain is the brain running it. And it's so cool to see you in that space, like physically in this amazing space that you created, that you dreamed up, that you designed. And there you are. You're sitting in the chair now. So cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was a journey too. I mean, I'm sure you remember even like, here I am sitting in the middle of like this drop in everyone's like, right, in this crazy time. And I was like, I mean, if I go to my brain, this is the dumbest thing I could ever do. And it'll chatter with me all day long and I'll never do it. And if I go back to inside of me, it's like, it's a no-brainer, has to happen. And and I was like, oh, so I had to like keep going back and forth where it's like, okay, got to shut the brain because the brain has nothing to do with this. And I didn't even realize, that's like a year of dreaming. And then all of a sudden there's like, break ground 6 weeks later, done. And I'm in this new space. And it's like, I had no idea what that gift to myself and that belief in myself, what other gifts would come from it. And it has been wild to watch the ripple effect of like just staying in my knowingness and believing in myself and trusting in that has done for me and for everyone else. I mean, I have even chats with people and clients and they're like, where did you move? What's going on? And they'll like write me in between and they're like, it's making my wheels spin just by looking at my space. And that I did this and gave it to myself. They're like, I'm looking at where am I doing that? Or where am I not doing, and I'm like, we didn't even talk about that. Right. But that's all happening just by how you move through the world. Right. And what example you give. And it's super cool.
It's so cool. Like you're an example of what's possible, right? Like that's the course that we took. That's a message that they really kind of honed in on a lot. Like when you go out into the world, you try to help people, coach them, heal them in different ways. The only way you can really successfully do that is by trying to show up in a way, in the same way that you're trying to ask them to show up, right? Because you can't go back on your word and like not invest in yourself and not do all these things that we say are the things that are going to move you forward, but then we're too afraid to do it. It's like part of our responsibility in the work that we do is to push that much harder and just to get like slightly ahead of the curve so that we can show all of this amazing possibility. And I think like talking to you when you had come out of the program that we had done, which was a fairly big investment, which was the biggest investment I had ever made in myself. And also like same kind of ripple effect after that. You came out of a pretty big investment and went straight into another big investment during COVID when your business was like pretty much shut down for a while. You didn't have any clients. And I love that you're like, it was my brain telling me something. And I was like, hey brain, it's like, this is not where you lean in right now. You're not allowed to like get involved. This is not your place. And I think that is a point that for our audience is so critical, because that's the moment when you like start saying no to paying customers, when you start to live into things and start spending money on yourself. It's not that you're spending it in an irresponsible way, but you're dreaming into this place that you know when you get there, the ripple of it will be so strong. You can feel it in your bones, you can feel it in your body, which is where you start your decision-making process, because that's who you are. And I love that that's like come to a head for you.
Yeah. And I'm finding more and more that that's truly what I have to give, right? Is that gift of that relationship with yourself. And that's kind of it's sort of a specialty, right? Of like, okay, that gift of being able to feel and speak to that and not be afraid of all the feelings, and like really, just creating that amazing relationship with yourself and living from there, and like, all the fun tools and all the things and, that go with it. But just how that can be the most important work to move forward to all the other work in my mind. It gives you that responsibility back, but it also does it in like a safe way within yourself. And I just get excited about the whole thing.
Yeah. So we talked about the outfit, but I want to ask you like the finale question that we always ask our people that we interview. What's the thing that scares you the most right now?
Thing that scares me the most. I think there's still so much to come. So there's, and that wants to come out of me and be shared. And so there's the impatience and the excitement. That part is probably what scares me the most and stops me the most. And so that's the one I watch the most, where it's like, okay, no, you don't need to stop. You can just keep stepping. You can just take a breath. You can just think about it. Like I'm having a new, like, they don't all have to get done right now. Like, let's focus on one, but it doesn't mean everything has to fall apart, because then my mind does this like, oh, yeah, you're in the same place. You're never going to get it done. Or, all those things. It's like, you want to do this, but you want to do that, but and I'm like, yeah, I do. And so in the other place now, the fear is that I'm going to get in my own way. And so I just have to really practice allowing myself to listen to my own self and also tell a different story around it, where it's like, no, I don't have to spin all the plates. I can just, have a meal here and go to my favorite restaurant there. And, like I could do a little bit of everything if I want to and in my time. But the excitement can sort of get me a little beyond where I am in the moment sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a good reminder for people too, that, especially when you have lots of ideas, when you're at the precipice of starting something new and like going towards something that you feel called to do, there is that moment where it's like, oh no, if I go this direction, I won't be able to do this thing. And I feel kind of called to do this thing. And so people just get paralyzed in that place. But it's good to it's a good reminder to say, like, I could just breathe. I could just maybe make a note about it. I don't have to like go into some kind of like manic drive to get everything done, and it has to be done within a week. It can just marinate for a while, and that's how the ideation process is. And so I think that's a really good, important lesson for everyone.
Yeah, I think that I appreciate that reflection, and I think there's a piece too of like allowing something to come up to the top, right? And like let the cream be on top. And so it's like, I think it's this, I think it's that, and I'm trying, and then it's like, oh no, right? Like we started with the summit and stuff, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. This is feeding me. This is fun. And all those other plates are here, but now they're on clipboards. And when I feel like diving into them, they go, but this one's staying up front because I'm like, this is where I am right now. And I'm leaning into Hello Mellow because I'm using that as my team creator. And they're all very aware that it's like, we're using this to create this team that then, if you want to sit down for 10 hours, let me tell you all the other things that I have in my mind, in my brain, and whatever, and sometimes we do like, okay, let's get a little window to it. And let's not talk about any of those things because everyone leaves like, okay, Trace. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I promise to just write them on something. Let's just focus on one. So it's exciting to sort of be able to say that too, like, oh, it's okay. I can just lean into one and have the experience of that. And we kind of had that talk too when I came to it. I was like, is it weird that I feel like I'm giving myself permission to lean into the one that feels really juicy right now, and
Yes.
And let that keep feeding, the clients and my one-on-one clients and my coaching clients and, and body engineering and, whatever shows up, because this other thing is really juicy for me and it informs me to keep doing the other things too.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's so great. Well, I'm so glad we had a chance to do this, Tracy, that we could put you in the hot seat this week and talk about your journey. I think it's really good for people to hear as we, continue on this kind of path to interview people and start to understand how people have kind of found their gifts and found their magic and figured out that they have to live into them. It's sort of, there's no other choice. So I love hearing your journey, and I'm so glad that I get to be a part of it. It's awesome. So let's keep working on it.
Yeah. And I'm just going to add, because I think what is so exciting about us working together is that, like, out of the support and the pulling that out and the supporting each other to find that path and find our way with our magic and getting, some reflection and stuff. It's like, that's why we created the summit. We're like, can we do it for more people? Right. And like how amazingly helpful it is to have like-minded people reflecting and being there and inspiring you and daring you and making it fun and making the hard parts laughable and, and supporting each other in guidance and any way. And that's why I think that one floats to the top for me, right? I was like, oh, we did this for each other, and we have teams that support us, and like, we can do that for others, and others can do that for others, and we can get each other together. And that's really the excitement of, what we're developing there. So I think it's cool, and I'm excited to share that with everyone, with you.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, agreed. And it's happening in January, and we've been planning this for about a year. So it's going to be so exciting to also see the culmination of the work that we've done to plan it, the types of sort of exercises and things that we've felt together going on this journey really cracked things open for us. So we're sort of, just as you were talking about earlier, getting people more quickly to the punch. They don't have to go through the last year of the journey that we were on. We can just give them the shortened synopsis version so that they can really get into it and live into it. So it is going to be so exciting to see that, and also to meet you in real life.
Yes, I know. So crazy. Can't wait for that.
I know, it's going to be so great. So, well, thanks again. I think this was really fun, and I hope it was helpful to people. And if you did like what you saw here, people, then comment and tell us what's going on with you, because Tracy and I would love to jump in and figure out how to crack things open. So make sure you comment.
If you want to come on and share what's going on with you, or, let us help you on here, just write in the comments or email us or something. Why not? Let's get interactive. Let's jump in together.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy.
Thank you.